We have a very special guest speaker for you today. Matt Bailey is an expert in online persuasion. As a world-renowned speaker and corporate trainer, he has helped companies like Goodyear, Google, Gerber Life, the Direct Marketing Association, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, American Greetings, and Toys R Us take control of their websites and build strong online engagement. His book, Internet Marketing, An Hour a Day, is being touted as the must-have Bible of online marketing. Please welcome Matt Bailey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been wonderful being here. And maybe some of you have seen me around. I just tend to, when I come to these things, keep a low profile so I can listen to some of the conversations that are going on. That way I can drink tequila without anyone knowing that I'm the speaker on Saturday morning. Before we came down here, my wife is here with me. We had a meeting with our insurance agent. And my insurance agent was trying to sell me on a couple of products, and one that he was specifically interested in trying to get me to buy was a disability product. And he said to me, what would happen if you were sick and became incapacitated and maybe you were in the hospital? Who would pay your bills? How would you run your business? And I said, well, as long as they've got Wi-Fi in the hospital, I can do my job. I don't really need disability insurance for that. He says, well, what? He was getting red at this point. I had an answer for everything. So then he launched, I think he went nuclear at this point. Because he said, God forbid, what if you were in an accident and you lost complete mental faculty? What if you had a brain injury and you couldn't even think or make a complete thought? And I turned to my wife and I said, I could be a social media expert. I am what my friends call an anti-social media expert. I love social media, all right, when it's done correctly, all right? My job when I talk with companies is we don't so much subscribe to that you've got to do the latest social media and you've got to add it into your program right now. My job when I work with companies is I want to know what's making you money and how do we make you more. That's my bottom line. And so when we work with companies, what we want to know is where are you getting your best customers from? How do we leverage that to make you more money? Where are you spending time and money in places that don't give you a return? And let's stop it. And let's put it where we know it's working. So that's what we focus on. And because of that, like I said, I like social media. It's got a place if you can show that you are getting what you're putting into it. And that's what I'm most concerned about. You see, if you want to have a successful social media presence, it relies on 4 primary things. Number 1, a successful narrative. I'm going to explain a little bit about each one of these as we go along. Then, as you have that narrative, you've got to develop the right medium to communicate that narrative. You see, not all social media is equal. Some are better than others depending upon who you are and what your message is. And then once you decide upon what's best for you, you've got to develop a good campaign. And part of developing a good campaign is planning. Not enough people plan their social media. The successful companies that are able to use social media to leverage thousands of sales are ones that have planned every single blog post, tweet, video, and update because they know what their visitors want and they plan around that. The simple thing about a narrative, and Socrates even said this is not new. You've got to know who you are. If you don't know who you are and you don't know what your message is, then your social media postings are not going to make any sense to anyone who follows you. You've got to have a story. You've got to have a narrative that explains this is who I am, and every communication you get from me is going to be focused around that so that your visitors, your followers can learn more about you and who you are. There is a company in the UK, and I was introduced to the founder here. He created a cigarette brand called Death Cigarettes. It's in a black case. And you can see they even put the skull and crossbones on the cigarette pack. The side of it says, "Smoke more, die faster." This, in 1 year, became the best-selling cigarette brand in the United Kingdom. Why? In fact, this company did not even set out. They were a brand in search of a product. And what they wanted to find was, let's take something that's marketed as a lie and tell the truth. And because they told the truth, it was the most popular selling brand in the country. Because we're gonna sell it as a lie like everyone else does. We're gonna push it as the truth. And that's the power of a narrative. When you've got a story, when you know who you are, and you can distinguish yourself from everybody else, that gives you the power to get into someone's mind and they can build that association with you. Another powerful narrative. How many of you watch American Idol? Who's the biggest sponsor of American Idol? How do you know that? It's everywhere. Even the rooms are red and the couches are bottle-shaped or bubble-shaped. Do you know who any of the other sponsors are? Ford. One person knows it's Ford. Ford is not part of the narrative. Coke is everywhere throughout American Idol. It is woven into the narrative of American Idol. The judges have the cups, but Ford has a commercial that no one pays attention to. So it's part of understanding who you are when it comes to a narrative. We worked with the insurance industry, and what we did was we broke down what the narrative is of each one of the major insurance companies. Progressive, their narrative is that they are the voice of reason in the industry. This breeds Flo. If you're familiar with her, it is, and I have to tell you, one of our partner companies manages the Facebook page for Flo. And I have to tell you, there are so many people who love Flo. And when I say love Flo, I mean, it's a little twisted, and it doesn't. You don't sleep well at night after reading how much they love Flo. Progressive is the voice of reason. They're talking about savings, and it makes sense. State Farm always wants to be your friend, and they are going, and so you will never see the narrative statement in their advertising, but you can sense it if you think about their ads, how that narrative forms their ads. Geico is the entertainer. Exactly, yeah. We've got the caveman, the lizard, the pig. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on there. And then Allstate sells based on fear. It could happen to you. And that's why we have the Mayhem character, which, by the way, Mayhem has more friends on Facebook than Allstate does. We'll talk about that. So the power of the narrative. The narrative is the statement that defines you. It's not the statement that you share with everybody else in your marketing, but it's what defines your communication to everybody else. Who are you? Once you answer the question, who are you? Then we can start talking about how to use social media. Because until you know who you are and what your message is, it's kind of pointless. You're spreading it all around. So let's talk about the different social media. You see, not all, like I said, not all social media are the same. They're all very different. And many years ago, and I was a journalism major in college, and we learned about Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan made a famous statement that the medium is the message. What he meant was that depending upon how you received information, how the method that you received it in greatly affects how you interpret the information. This goes all the way back to the Kennedy-Nixon debates back in the early 60s. This is the first television debate that was televised because at that point, television was the brand new technology. Half of the households in America watched the debate. Half of the households listened to it on the radio. The majority of households, after listening to the debate on the radio, overwhelmingly thought that Nixon won the debate. When asked why, they said he had a greater grasp of the issues. He understood and was more knowledgeable from the questions, and his answers were very succinct and knowledgeable. Half the households watched it on TV. When polled and asked who won the debate of those that watched on TV, overwhelmingly they said that Kennedy won. When asked why, they said he looked presidential. He was calm. He was collected. Interestingly enough, Nixon had been in the hospital for 5 weeks on a liquid diet prior to the debate. So he was thin, he was gaunt, he was white. Also, Kennedy's people called the network the day before the debate to find out what color the background was going to be so that he could wear a contrasting suit. Image. See, those that listened to the words thought that Nixon won. Those that watched were absorbed in the visual of Kennedy and thought that he won. So it was the same information. The same core information was transmitted, but depending upon how you received that information, greatly affected how you interpret it. And that's what we mean when we say the medium is the message.